Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Ankita Jain from DSPSR New Delhi. Today we are going to talk on module Incentives and Fringe Benefits Introduction from paper Human Resource Management. Objectives. The primary objective of incentive scheme is to attract and retain efficient employees and induce them to work harder in the job. Developing on ownership interest, incentive schemes aim at creating a personal interest among the employees in organizational affairs so that this will in turn improve the sense of responsibility of these employees. Next, enhancing employee motivation. Organization looks at incentives as a value option to increase and sustain employee motivation through monetary and non-monetary rewards. Next, improving employee retention. Incentives aim at controlling the labor turnover arising out of employee dissatisfaction and due to absence of merit recognition and poor pay. Thus, incentive program aim at enhancing the employee retention rate. Next, facilitating a greater role for employee in pay determination. Incentive schemes enable to employees to determine their own income by linking their pay with their actual performance. By varying their performance levels, they can earn the required incomes. Next, increasing the performance and productivity. By establishing a link between the pay and the performance, organizations aim at increasing organizational performance and employee productivity to the desired level. Next, reducing the labor turnover. Through productivity-linked schemes, organizations seeks to avoid permanent raise in the pay levels of the employee. This in contrast to the basic pay and other fixed employee benefits, which permanently commit the organization to a fixed labor cost irrespective of its performance and profitability. Next, reducing the time and cost of supervision. Incentive schemes aim at reducing the supervisory cost and the time by enhancing the sense of responsibility of the employee through linking their performance with pay. Hard work pay is the simple philosophy behind incentive program. Employees usually get incentives in addition to their base salary in the organization. Incentive enables an organization to present challenges and rewards alike to its workforce in order to make the employees enjoy their jobs more. The primary purpose of providing wage incentive is to enhance the organizational performance and employee productivity. Understandably, performance goals within a reasonable cost. Performance-based incentive programs enable an organization to keep its employees satisfied without producing any permanent rise in pay or in benefits. Thus, incentive schemes help an organization establish a formal relationship between the individual performance and remuneration. Incentives also motivate the employees to work hard on their jobs in order to get recognition in monetary and non-monetary terms. However, when the rewards offered as a part of incentive program do not fulfill the exact needs of the employees, they cannot be considered as an incentive at all. The incentive program should be such that they should get and keep employees motivated by fulfilling their exact needs. Generally, incentives are provided to employees when their actual performance meets the performance standards set by the organization. Although organizations predominantly offer non-monetary rewards to their employees. Finally, an important prerequisite for any effective incentive scheme is presence of an objective performance evaluation procedure. Meaning and definition. Incentives are monetary benefits paid to workmen in recognition of their outstanding performance. They are defined variable rewards granted according to variations in the achievement of specific results. The International Labour Office refers to incentives as payment by results, but it is appropriate to call them incentive system of payment, emphasizing the point of motivation, that is, the imparting of incentives to workers for higher production and productivity. Incentive pay is based on units produced and provide the closest connection between effort or performance and individual pay. According to Steven Gross and Jeffrey Becher, any compensation plan that emphasizes a shared focus on organization success broaden opportunities for incentives to non-traditional groups such as non-executives or non-managers and operates outside the base pay increase system. It is also called variable pay or incentive compensation. Incentive pay or performance-based rewards are an attempt to link compensation to performance. Thus, it is compensation system which is designed around the performance. It is linking pay to performance. Meaning and definition. According to Ray and Atlamasberger, pay for performance systems, also called incentive pay system, reward employees' performance on the basis of following three assumptions. First, individual employees and work teams differ in how much they contribute to the firm, not only in what they do but also in how well they do. Second, the firm's overall performance depends to a large degree on the performance of individual and groups within the firm. And third, to attract, retain and motivate high performers to be fair to all employees, a company needs to reward employees on the basis of their relative performance. Importance of incentive pay. The importance of incentive pay and performance-based reward system is discussed under the following. First, pay for performance. Most workers believe that those who work harder and produce more should be rewarded accordingly. If employees see that pay is not distributed on the basis of merit, they are more likely to lack commitment to the organization, decrease their level of effort and look for employment opportunities elsewhere. Second, strategic importance. It is hard to underestimate the strategic importance of using variable pay to align compensation with organizational goals and to signal to employees what the major organizational values are. Third, motivational device. When pay is contingent on performance, individual and group performances are consistently higher. Linking pay to performance provides an increased incentives for top performers to remain with the organization, a means of reinforcing organizational objectives and a method of keeping labor costs in line with productivity. It can lead to better employee performance. Fourth, facing challenges of global economy. E.E. Lawyer states that the incentive pay programs seek to align compensation with organizational goals, values, and culture, as well as the challenges of the global economy. Fifth, retention. Linking pay to performance is likely to help improve workforce compensation. High performance will lead to gain a large share of compensation resources and thus be motivated to stay with the organization. Below average performers will become discouraged and will tend to leave the organization. Productivity. When performance is linked to rewards, those capable of doing what will lead to a top productivity are motivated to do so. The top performers make the extra effort that will result in productivity when they know they will share in the rewards of their productivity. Seventh, cost savings. An obvious benefit of pay for performance is the capability to link compensation cost with productivity results. By basing pay on performance, employers can ensure that compensation costs, typically a major cost of doing business, will be tied to organizational results. When the results are poor and the organization is less able to pay, compensation costs are lower. 8. Attainment of organizational goals. Because of their important influence on motivation and satisfaction, reward systems have the ability to communicate organizational objectives. By linking pay to defined performance, it is also possible to ensure that individual objectives, employees whose efforts are not synchronized with organizational objectives, will not enjoy an equal share of rewards. The incentive planning process. Though each organization can have its own style of incentive plans to serve the needs of its employees, the incentive planning process shown in figure can be adopted by any organization with necessary modification. Step 1. Setting objectives for incentive programs. Step 2. Determining the nature of reward and the mode of payment. Step 3. Sharing goals with the employees. Step 4. Evaluating the actual performance of the employees. Step 5. Application of incentive plans. Step 6. Feedback. First, setting the objectives. The first step in the process of installing an incentive plan is the determination of goals for such incentive plans. Organizational objectives usually provide the basis for determining the goals of the incentive programs. Second, determining the nature of reward and the mode of payment. Having formulated the goals to be accomplished through incentive plans, the next step is the determination of the type of incentives and the mode of its payment. It should also choose between individual and group incentive plans to achieve the proposed incentive goals. Besides, it should decide between monetary and non-monetary rewards for compensating its employees. Third, sharing the goals with the employees. In the next step, the organization should effectively communicate the objectives and the nature of the incentive plans to all its employees so that they can understand their role and reward in the incentive plans clearly. Fourth, evaluating the actual performance. At the end of a specified period, the organization must evaluate the employee's performance to decide whether they attained the performance standard and also the amount of incentives payable to each one of them. Next, application of incentive plans. Once the performance of employees have been evaluated, the next stage is the application of appropriate incentive plans to determine the performance rating and pays of the employees. Typically, the employees at this stage get to know what their reward will be. Last, feedback. Sometimes the employees may not be satisfied with the incentive plans. The performance evaluation process or the mode of payment of incentives. In such a situation, the incentive schemes may not fail to motivate the employees but also dissatisfy them, causing increased labor turnover and absenteeism. To avoid such a situation, it is necessary for the organization to receive periodic feedback from the employees in order to know their views on the incentive schemes. Prerequisites for good incentive system. Only an effective incentive scheme can have a desired impact on the productivity and efficiency of the employees. The installation of a good incentive scheme requires meticulous planning and honest execution. The organization should also make certain that the incentive schemes proposed to be introduced fulfill the following conditions. First, transparency. The foremost requirement of an efficient incentive scheme is its transparency. The scheme must be comprehensible to all employees who are part of the scheme. Even uneducated employees must be able to understand the working of the incentive schemes clearly. Second, objectivity. The incentive scheme should keep objectivity in the performance evaluation and incentive computation to the minimum. The greater the objectivity in the incentive schemes, the larger the scope for charges of personal bias and prejudice in the determination of rewards for employees. When the employees suspect unfairness in the distribution of monetary rewards, they might remain indifferent to or even oppose the scheme. Third, measurability. The next important prerequisite for an effective incentive scheme is that the scheme be quantifiable. The incentive scheme must be readily measurable. It should be based on rational and scientific work measurements. Organizational should not attempt to keep abstract terms like attentions, required concentration, and stress levels as the basis for determining the incentives. Next, attainability. The performance goals fixed by an organization for computing the incentives should be practical and achievable. If they are too tough to be achieved by the employees, the latter may not be keen on accomplishing these goals. Eventually, the employees may develop an indifferent attitude towards the incentive schemes of the organization. Flexibility. An effective incentive scheme should be flexible enough to adapt itself to the changes in the internal and external environment. The organization must be able to effect changes in the scheme without too much delay. The administrators of the scheme should review its performance periodically and make necessary changes as and when required. Next, comprehensiveness. An effective incentive scheme should have something to offer for all the employees of the organization. All the sections of the employees, from foremen and supervisors to helpers, must be covered under the scheme. The total cooperation of workers, managers, and unions must be obtained for the scheme. Seventh, cost effectiveness. A good incentive scheme should not only be efficient but also economical in achieving the goals of the incentive program. The purpose of linking pay with performance is to achieve cost effectiveness in the management of the incentive scheme. In contrast, if the cost of maintenance of such scheme is more than the saving made through them, there is no point in continuing with such schemes. Instantaneous feedback. As far as possible, the reward available to the employees must be paid immediately. This would make an incentive scheme more relevant and attractive to those who participate in it. Besides, the employees would be more determined in earning the reward if it is going to benefit them in the immediate future. Thus, an effective incentive scheme should pass on the rewards to the employees as quickly as possible. Barriers and challenges to incentive system success. First, nature of the task. Very few employees have total control over their own performance. Direct pay for performance incentives should be adopted only when employee skill and effort have a substantial impact on output. Second, not fair measurement of performance. Subjective measure of performance creates difficulty in the accurate and fair measurement of employee performance. As a result, individuals are likely to feel that their rewards are not related to their effort but instead are a function of the judgment of their particular supervisor. Third, amount of payout. Incentive compensation on average amounts for only 10% of base compensation. Thus, the size of the payout is frequently a barrier to the successful linkage of pay and performance. Fourth, negative effects of the spirit of cooperation. Studies show that incentive compensation may provoke conflict and competition while discouraging cooperation. Internal competition may set off rivalries that lead to quality problems, sabotaging a project, spreading rumors, or even cheating. Psychological contracts. Once implemented, incentive systems create a psychological contract between the employer and the firm. This creates a set of expectations based on prior experience, and it is very resistant to change. Breaking a psychological contract can have damaging results. Next, credibility gap. Employees often do not believe that incentive systems are fair or that they truly reward performance. Studies indicate that as many as 75% of employees question the integrity of incentive plans. If employees do not consider the system legitimate and acceptable, it may have negative rather than positive effects on their behavior. Seventh, job dissatisfaction and stress. Incentive system may lead to greater productivity but lower job satisfaction. Some research suggests that the more pay is tied to performance, the more the work unit begins to unravel and the more unhappy employees become. Next, potential reduction of intrinsic drives. Studies show that an organization that puts too much emphasis on pay in attempting to influence behavior may reduce employees' intrinsic drives. It may stifle their talents and creativity. Effect on mentality. To avoid subjective judgments and favoritism, incentive systems tend to rely on objective indicators of performance. This creates a do only what you get paid for syndrome. This is harmful for increasing the productivity. Lack of control. Employees often cannot control all of the factors affecting their performance. Some examples of factors beyond an employee control are A. Supervisors, B. Performance of other work group members, C. The quality of material the employee is working with, D. Working conditions, E. The amount of support them from management, and F. The environmental factors. Incentives in India. In a country like India, incentives are an important tool for motivating workers, improving productivity, and reducing cost per unit. Various 5-year plans have suggested introduction of incentive schemes to promote more efficient working of industries. The second plan recommended that the earnings beyond the minimum wage should be related to results and that the workers should be consulted before a system of payment by results was introduced. The National Commission on Labour suggested that under our condition, a wage incentive is concerned with an effective utilization of manpower, which is the cheapest, quickest and surest means of increasing productivity. The only practicable and self-sustaining means of improving manpower utilization is to introduce incentive schemes and stimulate human efforts to provide a positive motivation to greater output. In India, the need for introducing wage incentive plans is greater due to the following reasons. First, the average Indian worker is financially poor. Second, the productivity of the Indian workers is low and needs to be increased. Third, technology in Indian industries need to be modernized and upgraded. Fourth, effective application of wage incentive plan is likely to have a beneficial impact in the price level. Fifth, incentive schemes can be applied to all sectors of the economy in the national interest. The National Productivity Council conducted an All India survey of wage incentive plans in the country which revealed that first, incentive plans are more popular in labor-intensive industries. Second, group incentive schemes were more common than plant-wise or individual plans. Third, standards were fixed generally through time study and past experience. Fourth, incentive plans led to significant about 40% rise in average productivity. Fifth, more comprehensive plans lead to great savings in cost per unit and overtime working. And sixth, scientific techniques of work measurement are preferable in the setting of standards. Fringe benefits. The term fringe benefits refer to the extra benefits provided to employees in addition to the normal compensation paid in form of wage or salary. Advin Flippo writes, in the broadest sense, such fringes include all expenditures designed to benefit employees over and above regular base pay and direct variable compensation related to output. Belcher describes these benefits as any wage cost not directly connected with employees' productive effort, performance, service or sacrifice. The Glossary of Current Industrial Relations and Wage Terms has defined fringe benefits as supplements to wages received by workers at a cost of employers. The term encompasses a number of benefits paid vacations, pensions, health and insurance plans, etc., which usually add up to something more than a fringe and is sometimes applied to a practice that may constitute a dubious benefit for workers. Objectives of fringe benefits. First, to promote employees' welfare and paternalistic attitudes. Second, to create and improve sound industrial relations. Third, to motivate the employees by identifying and satisfying their unsatisfied needs and to improve their morale. Fourth, to keep in line with the prevailing practices of offering benefits and services which are given by similar concerns. Fifth, to gain employees' loyalty and cooperation, encouraging them to greater productive efforts. Sixth, to provide security to the employees against social risks like old age benefits and maternity benefits. Seventh, to provide health care and safety to the employees. Eighth, to create a sense of belongingness among employees. Hence, fringe benefits are called golden handcuffs. Ninth, to meet the requirements of various legislation relating to fringe benefits. 10th, to improve and furnish the organizational image in the eyes of the public. 11th, to recognize the official trade union's bargaining strength, because a strong trade union always compels an employer to adopt a sound fringe benefits program for his employees. So, students, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. Wage incentives refer to performance-linked compensation. It helps to improve industrial relations, employee morale and productivity, work methods and teamwork. It may cause damage to employees' health, quality of work, industrial safety, interpersonal relations, etc. Proper climate, workers' involvement, scientific standards, guaranteed minimum wages, simplicity, equity, economy, flexibility, promptness, provision for appeal and follow-up are essentials of a sound wage incentive plan. Fringe benefits refers to benefits like paid holidays, housing, etc. in addition to regular wages salaries. Thank you.